You've probably seen them, haven't you? Those shimmering visions of medieval princesses gliding through opulent halls in silk and velvet, their tall, conical hats catching the light, forever poised for a dashing knight to sweep them off their feet. A perfect fantasy. But let's tear that silk curtain aside, because the truth was far uglier and far deadlier. Between the 13th and 15th centuries, nearly 1/3 of royal women didn't live to see their 30th birthday. Their lives weren't about romance or noble knights. They were a relentless grind of arranged marriages, brutal childbirth, and suffocating political games. Survival was the real fairy tale. And now, you're about to step into that world yourself. So settle in, get warm, get comfortable, because where we're going, you'll need every bit of comfort you can find. Picture this. You wake in a cramped stone chamber inside a 13th century English castle. The first thing that hits you isn't sunlight or soft sheets. It's the cold and unforgiving bone-deep chill that pours out of the walls themselves, clawing straight through your skin. Your breath mists in front of your face before your eyes even open. This isn't a crisp, charming cold. It's the kind that promises misery. Beneath you is no plush mattress, just a sagging sack stuffed with straw that crackles at every tiny movement. And then there's the sound, a faint, quick scuttling just inches away. You're not dreaming. Those are mice, sharing your bed as casually as if they paid rent. Then come the pinprick sharp, irritating little bites along your arms and legs. Fleas, bedbugs, the constant companions of nobility and peasants alike. Even a princess isn't spared from the crawling, biting realities of medieval life. The room itself is thick with darkness, refusing to yield even as dawn creeps in. There are no switches, no lamps, no easy glow of electricity, only a stubborn void, occasionally sliced by a thin, reluctant beam of winter light dripping through the narrow window slits. And the smell that hits you next, a musty, damp heaviness rising from the sweating stone walls. Beneath it, sharp and sour, sits the unmistakable stench of the chamber pot in the corner, your only bathroom, silently reminding you where and when you truly are. Because, no, you don't have a modern bathroom, not even remotely close. And despite what the minstrels' tales and fantastical movies might suggest, medieval folk, especially nobility during the colder months, didn't exactly indulge in frequent bathing. So, yes, there's also the distinct, unmistakable aroma of unwashed humanity, an intimate, pervasive funk that settles into every fiber of the room, and perhaps your very being. Morning, my lady. The voice, surprisingly close, jolts you from your sleepy stupor. Right, you're not alone. Your ladies-in-waiting, the faithful shadows of your life, share this very chamber. In fact, one of them has spent the night nestled at the foot of your bed, a silent sentinel who probably heard every snore, noted every sleepy sigh. Privacy, you quickly realize, is a luxury utterly unknown to a medieval princess. Alice, the woman who spoke, is already a blurred silhouette in the gloom, stirring to life. You hear the muted clinking of a poker against metal, the hiss and crackle as she coaxes the dying embers of last night's fire back to warmth, trying to push back against the room's icy grip. She's been up for at least an hour already, perhaps more, a silent testament to the rhythms of servitude. They wake before you, they sleep after you, and their entire existence revolves around the meticulous choreography of your daily life. It's time for morning prayers, my lady, Alice announces, her voice gentle but firm as she helps you sit upright, pushing aside the scratchy straw. The entire household is already gathering, a silent, shuffling procession in the castle's deeper recesses. And no, this isn't an optional engagement. It's an unwavering command. Whether you're weary, whether you're battling a fever, whether you simply wish for another hour's respite, it makes no difference. Morning prayers are a daily, non-negotiable cornerstone of medieval life. And as the princess, your presence is paramount. God, after all, comes first, always. Isn't that just like history, carving its rigid lines into every moment? Alice helps you swing your legs over the side of the bed, and the stone floor beneath your bare feet delivers a shock of pure, unyielding ice, making you gasp. The whole ritual of getting dressed is nothing like the modern indulgence of slipping into soft sweats and a favorite t-shirt. Oh no, medieval royal attire was meticulously crafted, not for your comfort, but as a flamboyant declaration of wealth, power, and the unyielding demands of your status. It was a heavy mantle, literally and figuratively. First, the linen shift, thin and relatively scratchy, is lowered over your head, the sole garment in your extensive wardrobe that sees the washtub with any consistent regularity. Next comes the kirt, a long-sleeved dress, stiff with embroidery, requiring careful lacing up the sides or back, cinching your form. Then, the surcoat, an overdress boasting sleeves so dramatically voluminous they'd make any practical task utterly impossible without constant assistance. You really can't help but wonder, what were they thinking? Finally, your feet are squeezed into simple leather slippers. They offer no arch support, no cushioning, and certainly no warmth against the biting chill of the stone floors. Arms up, Alice instructs, her voice a soft command, as she and another lady-in-waiting begin the wrestling match of getting you properly attired. And this, mind you, isn't even your outfit for the day. This is merely for morning prayers. You'll undergo another complete change after your meal, possibly a third before the midday repast, and an inevitable fourth before supper, especially if guests are expected. Your hair receives a swift, rather perfunctory brushing. No languid, luxurious strokes here, for prayers, like time, wait for no one. Alice quickly braids it, pulling it tightly before tucking it completely away beneath a simple linen veil. Forget those fantastical, towering pointy hats from the storybooks. Those were a later invention, geographically specific and far from universal. What you wear is more akin to a nun's wimple, a modest cloth that meticulously covers every strand of hair, your neck, and frames your face. You see, a woman's exposed hair was deemed too tempting, too sensual, and thus must be concealed from public gaze, a constant reminder of societal expectations. Hurry, now, Alice urges, her voice laced with a gentle urgency as she fastens a heavy, embroidered cloak around your shoulders. Your father will be displeased if we are late, and that, you understand implicitly, is a consequence to be avoided at all costs. Your father isn't simply a loving patriarch. He is the king, or perhaps a powerful duke or earl, and his authority over you is absolute. Every facet of your existence, where you live, what you eat, the clothes you wear, the people you speak with, and most critically, who you will eventually marry, is entirely at his command. Displeasing him isn't merely about facing a stern lecture. It carries the chilling prospect of being exiled to a distant convent, or far worse, married off to some truly dreadful brute as a stark, irrevocable punishment. So, you quicken your pace, following Alice through the labyrinthine, winding stone corridors of the castle. They offer barely a degree more warmth than your own frigid chamber, and are just as steeped in gloom. Servants scurry past, their hurried movements punctuated by the flickering dance of lit torches and rushlights, vainly attempting to chase away the encompassing darkness. And the smell, the pervasive, unshakable smell, seems to intensify with every step you take. The lingering scent of smoke, a curious blend of wood fire and the unwashed bodies of many servants, still clings to your tunic as you navigate the inner passages of the castle. You finally reach the chapel, the deep, resonating thrum of its bells already echoing through the cold stone, signaling that you are, as usual, just a heartbeat late. Everyone is assembled within the dim, cavernous space. Your father stands prominently at the front, his formidable presence anchoring the gathering. If she still draws breath, your mother is by his side, a stark reminder of how many medieval women simply vanished from the narrative, often after the raw, brutal act of childbirth. Your brothers, if the heavens blessed your parents with sons, cluster near him. As for you and any sisters you might have, your assigned place is, of course, behind the men. Always behind the men. Isn't that just like history, placing you just so? A biting chill permeates the chapel, a contrast to the faint warmth radiating from dozens of beeswax candles, their flickering flames casting long, dancing shadows that make the sacred space almost asterisk, feel cozy. You can still see your breath misting in the air, a fleeting ghost with each exhale. The priest's steady voice rises, beginning the familiar Latin prayers. You understand snippets, phrases woven into the fabric of your daily existence, yet full comprehension isn't really expected. You are, after all, a woman of the noble house. Your primary duty here is to embody piety, murmur the correct responses, and present a flawless example for the entire household to follow. Our Father, who art in heaven. The drone of the ancient words continues, promising at least another hour on the unforgiving cold stone floor, your thin slippers offering little comfort against the chill seeping into your bones. Your stomach, let's be honest, is already staging a tiny rebellion, a hollow rumble of protest against the emptiness. But God, as you've been taught, always comes first. I know what you're thinking. This sucks, right? Where is the romantic glamour, the dashing nights, the thrilling tournaments? Well, those certainly exist, but they are fleeting spectacles, not the dull, often uncomfortable reality of your day-to-day existence. Life here is cold, rigidly structured, and more often than not, incredibly boring. Finally, mercifully, morning prayers conclude, and you're granted permission to proceed to the great hall for breakfast. But don't let your imagination conjure images of fluffy, modern pancakes and crispy bacon. Medieval breakfast is far simpler, usually a dense, coarse bread, a stark contrast to our airy, modern loaves, perhaps washed down with some ale, yes, even in the morning. Or, if you're particularly fortunate, a thin, watered wine, perhaps a small wedge of cheese, if available, or an egg, if the hens are feeling generous. That's generally the extent of it, and privacy. That's a concept yet to be invented, my lady. The hall hums with the low murmur of dozens of voices. Soldiers, servants, clerks, and various visitors all share the space. With your family elevated at the high table, presiding over the bustling scene, just as you're trying to make the coarse bread palatable, a soft whisper brushes your ear. Your father wishes to speak with you. After the meal, Alice, your lady-in-waiting, murmurs discreetly, her hand steady as she refills your cup with watered wine. Your stomach clenches, a knot of apprehension tightening far more than hunger ever could. Experience has taught you that a summons from your father rarely heralds good news. It almost invariably signals a significant development in your marriage negotiations. For you are, above all else, a valuable political asset to your family, a living tool, a carefully crafted instrument designed to forge powerful alliances, secure advantageous peace treaties, or expand your family's lands through a well-placed union. Your personal feelings on such matters, completely, utterly irrelevant. Do you know what it's about? You manage to whisper back, though ladies of your standing are hardly encouraged to gossip at the high table. Alice shakes her head, her gaze steady. No, my lady. But there was a messenger from France late last night. France, the single word hangs heavy in the air, laden with 1,000 possibilities. An alliance with France would undoubtedly be a prestigious match, elevating your family's standing even further. But the thought is a cold, stark thing. It would mean tearing yourself from England, abandoning everything and everyone you've ever known, to live in a foreign court where the language is alien, the customs baffling, and where you, a stranger, would be regarded with constant suspicion. Suddenly, the coarse bread in your mouth turns to ash, flavorless and dry. You are barely 13 years old, just 13. In a different world, you would be lost in the simpler dramas of middle school, perhaps worried about a history assignment or navigating the bewildering waters of a first crush. Here, however, you are already deemed of marriageable age. Girls in this era can be betrothed as infants, married at the tender age of 12, the church's minimum, and expected to begin bearing children almost immediately after. And speaking of bearing children, let's not mince words. That is your primary purpose as a princess. Your education, though far more limited than that bestowed upon your brothers, has been meticulously tailored to prepare you for the singular roles of a good wife and mother. You've been schooled in managing a household, basic medicinal remedies, the delicate art of needlework, and perhaps a touch of music, if your family happened to value such accomplishments. Reading was a possibility, though not all noble women were literate. Writing, less common still. Languages were certainly on the curriculum, if a foreign match, like the one potentially looming, was anticipated. More importantly, from the moment you were old enough to grasp the words, you were taught that your body is not your own. It belongs to your family until marriage, and then unequivocally to your husband. Its ultimate purpose is to produce heirs, preferably robust male ones, to secure the lineage. Yet, childbirth in the medieval period, let's be honest, is practically a death sentence for many women. There is no modern medicine, no understanding of germs or infection, and pain relief extends little beyond crude herbal concoctions and desperate prayers. Women, even queens and princesses with the best care available, died in childbirth with frightening regularity from hemorrhaging, rampant infection, or sheer exhaustion. And if you survived one perilous birth, you were expected to endure it again and again, for as long as it took to secure enough sons to ensure your family's future. The meal finally concludes, a quiet end to a tension-filled hour. Your father's hand rises, a subtle motion for you to follow him to his private chamber. This is it. Whatever news arrived from France, whatever fate awaits, you are about to hear it. And whatever it is, you will have absolutely no say in the matter. Your life, after all, is simply not your own. As you trail behind your father through the castle's winding corridors, the heavy tapestry-lined passages give way for a fleeting moment to an arched window. Below, in the sun-dappled courtyard, 2 young squires are engaged in spirited swordplay, their steel ringing against each other in sharp, clear notes. They are laughing, free in a way you will never truly know. They get to learn the exhilarating art of combat, the intricate strategies of war, the raw power of horsemanship, all activities strictly forbidden to you because of your gender. Their futures will be shaped to a large extent by their own abilities and choices. Yours, you realize, with a pang, was irrevocably determined the very instant you were born female and royal. The heavy wooden door to your father's private chamber creaks open with a low groan, and you are ushered inside. Unlike the sparse, functional sleeping chamber you inhabit, this room instantly declares the true wealth of your family. Rich tapestries, depicting vibrant hunting scenes, and the family crest cloak the stone walls, not only for beauty, but to ward off the persistent drafts. A roaring fire dances in the grand hearth, making this, undeniably, the warmest room in the entire castle. Your father gestures towards a stout oak desk, an actual piece of furniture dedicated entirely to his private affairs. You feel the chill of the morning air, a stark contrast to the stifling weight of the atmosphere in your father's private chamber. Here, the very air seems thick with the scent of aged parchment and the metallic temps of ink. A world defined by the scratch of quill on paper and the glint of the heavy royal seal sitting sentinel on the polished oak desk. You stand before him, a small figure in a room designed for the mighty, as he gazes past you, as if addressing the tapestry on the wall rather than his own flesh and blood. "My daughter," he begins, the words devoid of warmth. "The King of France has proposed a match between you and his second son, Philip." Just like that, your entire world, so carefully constructed and understood, shatters into a million pieces. You don't know this Philip. You've never even seen a portrait of him. Is he kind, cruel? Is he a towering brute or a slender scholar? Does he possess a quick wit or a dull mind? None of it matters, does it? Not a single shred of your personal preference or desire holds any weight. What matters is power. What matters is France. And what matters most, apparently, is the political leverage this alliance offers your family. Your father continues, his voice flat, detailing the terms as casually as if he were haggling over a stable of horses rather than dictating the course of your life. "The northern territories," he explains, "will be your dowry, and in return, precious trade rights through French ports will enrich the kingdom. You're only 13, a mere girl who has never set foot outside England, who doesn't speak a single word of French, and now you are expected to abandon everything. Leave behind the only home you've ever known, cross a vast sea to a foreign land, marry a complete stranger, share his bed, bear his children, and manage his household, all under the unforgiving scrutiny of a court that will view you as nothing more than an exotic, unwelcome outsider. When will this begin?" you manage to ask, the question a whisper against the enormity of your fate. "When will your life, as you know it, simply end?" "The betrothal will be announced at Michaelmas," he replies, "and the wedding will take place next spring, after you've celebrated your 14th birthday." For the first time, his eyes finally meet yours, a flicker of something unreadable there. "This is a good match," he declares, "better than I had hoped for. You will bring honor to our family. In other words, be grateful. Don't you dare complain. Some girls, you understand, are sold off to men 3 times their age, or sent to courts so distant and strange they might as well be on another planet. Others are sacrificed to secure peace with enemies who despise them from the moment they arrive, by the brutal, unromantic standards of medieval royalty. This asterisk is asterisk a decent arrangement. Yes, Father, you hear yourself say the words an empty echo in the grand chamber, for there is truly nothing else to say. No point in tears, no use in begging. Nothing will change. This is your duty. This is what you were born for, wasn't it? As you stepped from the heavy oak doors of your father's chamber, the cold stone of the corridor feels like a physical manifestation of your new reality. Your life, already so confined and controlled, now has a definitive expiration date. Less than a year, that's all you have left within these familiar walls, among the people you know, speaking the language that makes sense. After that, you will belong to France, to Philip, to a life thrust upon you without so much as a thought for your consent. Alice, your faithful lady-in-waiting, is waiting, her face a mask of concern. One glance at your expression, still numb from the blow, tells her everything. France, she murmurs, her voice barely a whisper. You nod, unable to speak, around the knot in your throat. The second son, she asks, a small, hopeful ray of light piercing through her question. You nod again. Well, she tries, a valiant attempt to conjure something positive from the bleak landscape of your future. At least he won't be king. Less pressure on you. It's a small comfort, isn't it? A tiny solace in a sea of overwhelming dread. Second sons, you know, still demand heirs, still carry immense political responsibilities, and still wield absolute, unquestioned control over their wives. But Alice is right in one respect. Not being queen consort does mean slightly less scrutiny, slightly lower stakes. Come, Alice says, her hand gently guiding you back toward the long, winding corridor leading to your own chambers. It's time for your lessons. And so, your day continues, relentlessly. There's no allowance for you to fall apart, no time to truly process this life-altering news, no one to offer comfort, no understanding parent to soothe your anxieties. There is only the unyielding schedule of a medieval princess's day. Prayers, meals, more lessons, even more prayers, perhaps a brief, highly supervised period of recreation, if you're lucky, and then bed. The same routine will unfold tomorrow and the day after, a relentless march of time until you are finally shipped off to France to fulfill your true purpose, making babies and securing alliances. This is the brutal reality of being a medieval princess. No fairy tales, no grand romance, certainly no freedom, just duty, restriction, and the constant, chilling knowledge that your body is not and will never truly be your own. And this is just the morning, you realize, the very beginning of your day. The rest of it will be even more controlled, even more focused on meticulously preparing you for the one thing that truly matters, becoming valuable marriage material. As Alice leads you back to your rather cold chamber, where you'll spend the next few hours painstakingly practicing needlework, or, suddenly, very urgently, learning French, you catch yourself with a dangerous thought. What would it be like, you wonder, to be one of the squires you see in the courtyard, to hold a sword instead of a needle, to have choices instead of only obligations? But those thoughts are treacherous. Isn't that just like it? Far better to simply accept your fate, better to be the good, obedient daughter and future wife, because in medieval Europe, for a princess, that is truly the only way to survive. And survival, not happiness, is the highest hope you can possibly entertain. Alice ushers you into your chamber, where several other young ladies are already waiting, a quiet murmur of hushed conversation filling the space. They are all from noble families, sent here to serve you and, in turn, learn the intricate ways of court life alongside you. They aren't quite friends, not in the way you might understand the word. True friendship, that kind of open, trusting bond, doesn't really exist for medieval nobility, certainly not in the same way. These girls are both your servants and, subtly, your competition, watching your every move, their eyes noting every detail to report back to their own ambitious families about the princess they serve. Lady Catherine will be here shortly for your French lessons, Alice announces, her nimble fingers already undoing the laces of your gown, preparing to change you into something simpler, more suitable for sitting and studying. Your father says you'll need extra practice now. Of course, the clock, you know, is ticking furiously on your transformation from an English princess to a French bride. Learning the language isn't just about communication anymore. It's about survival. The chamber feels a little warmer now, the morning fire having finally established its dominion over the room's chill, lending a faint scent of wood smoke to the air. Your ladies busy themselves around the room, arranging your books and writing materials. One of them, Margaret, who is about your age, glances at you, her eyes holding a deep, quiet sympathy. She knows, she understands what it means to be married off to a foreign court, to be a pawn in a larger game. Her own sister, you recall, was sent to Scotland last year and hasn't been heard from since. I hear the French court is very grand, Margaret offers, her voice hushed, trying to be helpful, much more refined than ours. What she doesn't say, but what you both instinctively know, is that the French will scrutinize every single detail, your manners, your speech, your appearance. You will be judged mercilessly, branded as the foreign bride, the eternal outsider. No matter how well you prepare, no matter how hard you try, it will never, ever be enough. Just then, the heavy oak door swings open, and Lady Catherine arrives, her stern presence filling the doorway. Your heart gives a heavy, unwelcome lurch. There she stands, a formidable woman with lips so thin they seem carved from stone, always keen to remind you of her illustrious past at the French court. In her hand, that dread small wooden paddle, the instrument of correction for every misplaced accent or fumbled phrase. You know, with a weary certainty, that your knuckles will be hot, red, and swollen by the time this hour is through. Bonjour, mademoiselle, she intones, her voice sharp as splintered bone, bypassing any soft English pleasantries, and you find yourself staring back blankly. You've spent years attempting this language of diplomacy, a requirement for all noble children. Yet fluency remains a distant shore, and suddenly your entire future hinges on conquering its treacherous waves. We have much to do today, Margaret whispers, only to instantly draw the full, icy force of Lady Catherine's glare. You, Lady Catherine snaps, her finger jabbing accusingly in your direction. You try, heavens, you truly try, but before the sound is even fully formed, asterisk, whack, asterisk, the paddle descends with brutal precision onto your knuckles. A searing bolt of pain shoots up your arm, but not a sound escapes your lips. Princesses, after all, do not cry out again, Lady Catherine demands, her gaze unyielding. La Princesse d'Angleterre. And so, the agonizing ritual continues for what feels like an eternity. Your tongue rebels, twisting around foreign, guttural sounds, while your throat tightens with the strain of producing nasal vowels that simply refuse to exist in English. Your knuckles throb a relentless rhythm, leaving your hand so stiff you can barely clench it. They won't tell you this in the storybooks, will they? That medieval education especially for young noble women like yourself, was a harsh, unyielding grind. There were no gold stars, no encouraging words for effort, only the stark divide between success and failure invariably led to stinging punishment. Better, Lady Catherine finally pronounces, though her thin lips offer no hint of satisfaction, no trace of a smile. Tomorrow we will work on court etiquette. The French have different customs. You must not embarrass your family. As if the crushing weight of an entire kingdom's diplomatic future isn't already a suffocating blanket upon your adolescent shoulders, as if you needed the reminder. The heavy oak door sighs shut behind Lady Catherine, and you tentatively flex your aching fingers, wincing with each slight movement. One of your ladies-in-waiting, sensing your discomfort, hurries forward with a small clay pot of salve. Its earthy, calming scent, a blend of herbs plucked fresh from the castle garden, fills the air as she gently massages the cooling balm into your reddened skin. This, too, is part of your extensive training, isn't it? To understand which plants soothe, which heal, which might, perhaps, even poison. Medieval medicine might seem primitive by the standards, but it was a surprisingly comprehensive tapestry of knowledge, woven thread by thread, passed down from woman to woman across generations. Time for your needlework, my lady, Alice announces softly, as another attendant places your embroidery frame before you. This, at least, is a refuge, a skill you possess, a task where your hands move with practiced grace. From the moment you could grasp a needle, you, like all noble girls, have been tutored in this intricate art. It's far more than mere decoration. It's a vital, practical skill in a world where every stitch, every thread, every garment must be crafted by hand. Queens and commoners alike spend countless hours each day, their needles dancing through fabric, creating and mending clothes, linens, and grand tapestries. Your current project is an elaborate religious tableau, the Annunciation. You meticulously stitch the angel Gabriel, delivering the divine news to the Virgin Mary, the symbolism of which is certainly not lost on you. Like Mary, you too must accept a destiny chosen for you, a future dictated by men who claim to speak with unimpeachable authority. The work is incredibly demanding, requiring absolute precision. You're using silk threads, a luxurious import from the distant East, dyed in vibrant hues that shimmer, each strand worth more than a peasant family might earn in a year. The angel's halo gleams with actual gold thread, painstakingly pounded thin and wrapped around a silk core. Your family's considerable wealth, quite literally, woven into the fabric. Smaller stitches, my lady, Alice reminds you gently, her keen eyes inspecting your progress. A French lady would use stitches so fine they are almost invisible. You sigh, a soft puff of air, and with a familiar sense of resignation, carefully unpick the last row, beginning anew. Your back protests a dull ache from hours of hunching over the frame. Your eyes strain in the muted light, filtering through the narrow high-set window. Even on the brightest of days, the thick stone walls of a medieval castle keep the interiors perpetually dim. Candles and oil lamps are far too costly for constant use, so your productive hours are strictly dictated by the sun's trajectory, especially as winter's chill begins to creep in. Tell me about the French court, you ask Alice, your voice hushed as your needle continues its silent dance through the fabric. What should I expect? Alice's lips press into a thin line. It is more formal than here, my lady. Far more political. Everyone watching everyone else, always searching for an advantage, for a weakness to exploit. Sounds awful, you mutter. A small, involuntary prick of the needle, causing a tiny drop of crimson to blossom on the pristine white linen for the third time this hour. You'll have to cleverly incorporate that into the pattern somehow, won't you? It is survival, my lady. Alice corrects you softly, her voice firm. Court life is a battlefield without swords. Words are the weapons, alliances the armor. And unlike men, we women cannot settle disputes with a duel. We must be cleverer, more patient. This, you realize, is yet another crucial part of your ongoing education, learning the unspoken rules of courtly existence. You must master the art of discerning true intentions behind formal words, navigating the treacherous currents of noble politics, where a single misstep could spell disaster, not just for you, but for your entire lineage. Will you come with me? You ask suddenly, a tremor of hope in your voice. Looking up at Alice, her face softens imperceptibly. If your father permits it, my lady, some of us will accompany you. But she clarifies, her gaze steady, that many of your new ladies in France will be chosen by your future husband's family to help you adjust. They'll say, but the truth, the bitter, unavoidable truth, is that they will also be there to spy on you, to meticulously report your every word and deed back to your new family, ensuring your loyalties seamlessly shift from England to France. The rest of the morning passes in a quiet, thoughtful hum, punctuated only by the soft, rhythmic sound of needles passing through fabric and Alice's occasional, gentle instruction. Your mind, however, drifts across the sea to the unknown future awaiting you in France. Will your husband be kind? Will you be permitted to bring your cherished books? Will anyone there genuinely care about your desires, your thoughts, your feelings? Deep down, you already know the answer. No one truly cares now, do they? So why would anything change in France? As midday approaches, the soft light shifts, signaling another ritual. Time to change clothes once more for the afternoon meal. This time, your garments are more formal, chosen specifically for the castle's visitors. Minor nobles from nearby estates have arrived, ostensibly to pay respects to your father, but incidentally to steal a curious glance at you, the princess who has secured such an advantageous match. You are no longer just a daughter. You are a curiosity, a living testament to success in the complex medieval marriage market. Your value, in their eyes, has just soared immeasurably. The great hall roars to life as you step across the threshold, a symphony of boisterous chatter, clanking platters, and the deep hum of 100 conversations all at once. It's a sensory assault, perhaps intentionally so, designed to overwhelm. Rows of heavy trestle tables stretch before you, overflowing with feasting nobles and their retinues, all culminating at the raised platform where your family's high table awaits. Beneath your delicate, embroidered slippers, the rough stone floor is softened by a thick carpet of fresh rushes, woven through with fragrant herbs like mint and lavender. With every gentle step, they crush underfoot, releasing a green, earthy perfume that, for a fleeting moment, almost succeeds in masking the musky, close scent of so many bodies gathered in one enclosed space. You glide to your designated spot at the high table, a practiced grace belying the tension in your shoulders. Every movement is a performance, back straight, head slightly bowed, eyes demurely lowered, hands clasped softly in your lap. You are silent, an elegant presence to be seen, but rarely heard, the epitome of a medieval lady, offering no one the slightest excuse for criticism. The midday meal unfolds with an opulence that far outshines breakfast. Platters arrive laden with succulent roasted meats, glistening fish, thick slices of artisanal bread, pungent cheeses, and seasonal vegetables, all exotically spiced. Wine, deep ruby red, flows with unchecked abandon into silver goblets. Yet, despite the bounty, your stomach remains a tight knot of apprehension, leaving you with little appetite. After all, wouldn't it be unladylike to show such robust hunger? The ideal noblewoman, you see, was ethereal, pale, delicate, almost translucent, a look achieved through scant sunshine and even scanter sustenance. The rosy-cheeked, robust ideal, my dear, was still centuries away, my daughter. Your father's voice, a sudden, booming thunderclap, slices through the hall's din, making you jump visibly. He doesn't even bother to look up from carving his venison. Lady Catherine informs me your French still requires considerable polish. Dozens of eyes, heavy with judgment, swivel to fix upon you. A flush of mortification burns up your neck, painting your cheeks a fiery crimson. Yes, father, you manage, barely a whisper. I am trying. He finally glances at you, his gaze sharp as a hawk's. Try harder, he states bluntly, his voice unwavering. I will not have the French court laughing at English education. You nod, chin tucked against your chest, the humiliation a searing brand. Oh, public criticism, just another cherished instrument in the medieval parenting toolbox. Shame for motivation, fear for incentive. Isn't that just like history? Then, one of the visiting nobles, a smooth-faced lord, pipes up. Perhaps the princess would benefit from a French lady-in-waiting, your grace. Someone to converse with her throughout the day. Your father pauses, knife hovering above his plate. Then a slow nod, a practical suggestion. I shall see to it. Just like that, another thread of your life is rewoven. No consultation, no choice. Another stranger is thrust into your already scrutinized existence. Another set of eyes, poised to find you wanting. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the meal concludes, granting you a brief, precious reprieve, an hour of recreation in the castle garden. This is one of the scant few times you are allowed outdoors, a fleeting glimpse of the open sky, and even then, your every move is shadowed by watchful chaperones. Medieval noble girls, you quickly learn, do not run with abandon. Do not shout playful dares. Do not scramble up trees, or engage in the rough-and-tumble games that boys revel in. Your recreation is a measured affair. Sedate strolls along manicured paths, perhaps a gentle game of catch with a soft leather ball, or a quiet session of dance practice. The garden itself is a far cry from the ornamental fantasies we imagine today. It is first and foremost a practical space, a living larder, an apothecary, rows of pungent herbs for cooking and medicine, neat beds of vegetables, a small orchard of fruit trees. In medieval life, beauty, you see, was almost always secondary to sheer utility. Tell me about Prince Philip, you murmur to Alice, your voice barely above a whisper, as you trace the gravel path through a fragrant bed of rosemary. What do you know of him, Alice? Your closest companion and confidant hesitates, her gaze flickering nervously to the vigilant chaperone just out of earshot. He's 17, she finally says, her voice low. For years your senior. She pauses again, choosing her words carefully. They say he's interested in scholarly pursuits. You might need a moment to adjust to that one. In your world, that could mean anything from a genuine, brilliant intellect to a physically weak boy deemed unfit for the rigorous demands of military training. And in a society where physical prowess in a man is prized above all else. Scholarly isn't necessarily a glowing compliment. They also say he's kind to his servants, Alice adds quickly, almost as an afterthought, as if sensing your rising disappointment. That, at least, is rare enough to be remarked upon. It is something you concede. Kindness, after all, isn't a quality much valued in medieval nobility, especially not in men. Power, strength, cunning, these are the formidable traits that truly hold sway. If Philip is known for kindness, perhaps your future with him won't be entirely miserable. Will I at least get to meet him before the wedding, you ask, a fragile hope flickering within you. Alice shakes her head gently, the movement almost imperceptible. Unlikely, my lady. The marriage negotiations will be conducted by proxies, by your father's envoys and his. You will, most probably, meet him for the very first time at the ceremony itself. A cold tendril of reality coils around your heart. Medieval royal marriages, you must understand, were never about compatibility, much less love. They were intricate business arrangements, strategic political alliances sealed with solemn vows and consummated with bodies. The very notion that you should meet your intended spouse beforehand, or, heaven forbid, actually have anything in common with them, would have struck the medieval nobility as utterly, laughably absurd. Your brief garden respite evaporates as quickly as morning dew. Soon, it's time for your afternoon lessons, a rigorous curriculum designed to mold you into the manager of a grand estate. For that, you see, is precisely what a princess becomes after marriage, the formidable mistress of her husband's sprawling household, responsible for everything from provisioning the cavernous kitchens to overseeing hundreds of bustling servants and meticulously maintaining the household accounts. Brother Thomas, a gaunt, observant monk from the nearby abbey, who also serves as the castle's cleric and accountant, arrives with his well-worn wax tablets and a sharp stylus. Today's weighty lesson, he announces, is on household expenditures, how to precisely track what is spent, what is saved, and, most crucially, what is wasted. A well-run household, Brother Thomas intones, his voice, as dry and brittle as the parchment scrolls he carries, reflects God's divine order. His words hang in the air, heavy with unspoken judgment. Wastefulness is a sin. Carelessness is a sin. Ignorance of your resources is a sin. It feels as though everything, absolutely everything, is a sin in medieval Christianity, doesn't it? The omnipresent fear of hell permeates every aspect of daily life, every decision, every fleeting thought. It is, perhaps, the ultimate control mechanism in a world already rigidly controlled by an intricate tapestry of social hierarchies. Brother Thomas places a wax tablet before you, its surface covered in neat, inscrutable rows of Roman numerals. Calculate the cost of provisioning the kitchen for 1 month. Based on these figures, he instructs, his finger tapping a particular column. It's tedious work, painstaking to the point of exasperation. While Arabic numerals already exist in some corners of the world, they are not yet widely used or understood in Europe. Calculations that would take mere seconds with our modern mathematics demand long, frustrating minutes of your focused attention. There are no shortcuts here, no pocket calculators, not even the simple, elegant convenience of positional notation that makes our based-in system so astonishingly efficient. Your head aches with the relentless effort of converting complex measures and values. How many shillings to the pound? How many pence to the shilling? How many bushels of wheat to feed? The variables, it seems, are truly endless. You must know these things. Brother Thomas states, his voice sharper now, cutting through your concentrated silence as you make a small, almost imperceptible error. A lady who cannot manage her household is entirely at the mercy of dishonest stewards and thieving servants. He's right, of course, utterly and undeniably right. In this medieval world, numeracy is just as critically important as literacy for a noble lady. You will one day be responsible for managing vast estates, overseeing hundreds of servants and workers, an entire small kingdom. If you cannot keep meticulous track of resources, if you cannot budget properly, if you cannot detect when you are being cheated, your household will inevitably fall into disarray. And that, in a world built on order and reputation, reflects poorly not just on you, but on the very lineage you're destined to join. After the rigid logic of mathematics, your daily rhythm shifts, ushering in the delicate art of music, another indispensable skill for a lady of your station. Don't misunderstand. This isn't about some notion of personal fulfillment or the joy of creative expression. Oh no, that's a luxury few can afford in your world. Your accomplishments, like the ability to play a melody, simply amplify your worth as a diplomatic asset, a more valuable piece on the chessboard of alliances. A princess who can enchant a court with song and string is undeniably more useful than one who merely sits in silent splendor. Suddenly, a soft rustle outside your chamber signals Sister Annis's arrival, a small, worn harp clutched in her hands. This isn't one of those massive, ornate concert instruments you might imagine. Medieval harps were often light, portable affairs, perfect for an intimate performance while seated in a lady's private room. The wooden frame, cool beneath your fingertips, vibrates gently as you pluck the gut strings. Your fingering has certainly improved, Sister Agnes murmurs, her voice a low hum, producing a simple melody. Yes, but your timing, child. It still falters noticeably in the middle section. Try it again. You adjust your grip, the faint scent of aged wood and beeswax tickling your nose. In the Europe of your time, music largely meant the sacred, solemn hymns, resonant psalms, or simple devotional pieces sung in the hushed quiet of a chapel. Of course, secular tunes certainly existed, the lilting ballads of troubadours, tales of courtly love, even bawdy folk songs, but such melodies were hardly deemed appropriate for a young noblewoman's lips. Not yet, anyway. Those romantic, sometimes scandalous ditties would find their proper place in courtly life much later, when love, or at least the idea of it, became a fashionable game. You sigh, adjusting your posture on the stool, about to repeat the challenging passage, when a sudden, urgent knock breaks the tranquil spell. The Queen requests your presence, a woman's voice states, clear and formal, followed by the crisp rustle of a deep curtsy. It's your mother, of course, but even in the privacy of your thoughts, you wouldn't dare call her simply mother. She is the Queen *. In royal families especially, parent-child relationships weren't characterized by casual warmth or spontaneous affection. Instead, an unspoken contract of respect, duty, and a carefully maintained distance governed every interaction. You nod, acknowledging the messenger, the sudden chill of the stone corridor greeting you as you step out of your sunlit chamber. Following the messenger, her footsteps echoing softly ahead of yours. You navigate the familiar labyrinth of winding corridors. The air grows cooler, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp stone, until you reach your mother's chambers of vast, opulent space, far grander than your own, reflecting her elevated status. The heavy oak door swings open, revealing a hive of quiet activity. Your mother sits regally amidst her ladies, all engaged in a monumental task, an enormous tapestry stretched taut on a towering frame that dominates half the room. Daughter, she acknowledges you with a slight, almost imperceptible nod, her eyes fixed on her work. Come, see what we are making for your wedding. You step closer, the muted clatter of needles and the soft whispers of the ladies-in-waiting filling the air. The tapestry, a vibrant riot of color, depicts a symbolic union, the intricate crest of your family interwoven with the proud, golden fleur-de-lis of the French royal house. The workmanship, you notice, is truly exquisite. Your mother is renowned throughout the kingdom for her unparalleled skill with a needle, and this particular piece is a masterpiece. This tapestry, she informs you without looking up, will travel with you to France, a constant, visual affirmation of the political alliance your very body is about to seal. It's beautiful, you manage to say, and it genuinely is, despite the heavy implications it carries. Sit, your mother commands, indicating a small, embroidered stool near her. Work on this section. The French court will scrutinize your needlework harshly. You must not shame us. You settle onto the stool, the familiar weight of a tapestry needle in your hand. You begin to add tiny, precise stitches to the elaborate border pattern, the wool feeling surprisingly coarse between your fingers. Your mother watches, her gaze unwavering and critical, occasionally correcting your technique with a sharp, whispered word. This, you understand, is yet another form of your ongoing education learning from the woman who has already lived the life you are about to begin. A life defined by unyielding duty, relentless obligation, and emotions that must always remain carefully concealed. After a long stretch of silence, broken only by the rhythmic pull of thread, your mother speaks again, her voice hushed, barely audible above the gentle murmuring of her ladies. I've heard about the French match, she says, a rare, almost vulnerable softness in her tone. It's better than I hoped for. Prince Philip, it is said, has a reputation for gentleness. Coming from her, this is practically gushing approval, a sentiment almost unheard of. You glance at her, genuinely surprised by this unexpected, almost tangible flicker of concern for your well-being. Will it hurt? You whisper, your voice barely a breath. Both of you know exactly what you're asking about the inevitable wedding night, the physical consummation that will transform this political pact into a binding, undeniable reality. Your mother's face remains as impassive as the stone walls around you, her eyes never leaving the intricate stitches beneath her needle. Yes, she says simply, her voice devoid of any discernible emotion. But it passes, and then, in time, it becomes tolerable. Tolerable. What a word, isn't it? Not pleasurable, certainly not joyful, merely endurable. That, you realize, is the most profound and honest marital advice a medieval queen can offer her daughter. Remember your duty, she continues, still not looking at you. Her words like an etched commandment. Provide heirs. Manage his household with skill and grace. Bring honor to both families. The rest is unimportant. The rest, of course, encompasses your happiness, your desires, your entire personhood, all utterly insignificant in the grand, strategic tableau of a medieval political marriage. Yes, mother, you respond, because honestly, what else is there to say? You both lapse back into silence, the only sound the soft, rhythmic pricking of needles against fabric. You continue adding stitches to this magnificent tapestry, a vibrant, intricate symbol of your fate. The profound irony of it isn't lost on you. With every precise stitch, you are quite literally helping to create the very artifact of your own future subjugation. But that, you've long understood, is the intrinsic nature of being a medieval princess. You are simultaneously the precious commodity being traded and the meticulous craftsperson preparing yourself for the market. As the afternoon light begins to wane, casting long, shifting shadows across the tapestry, you are summoned once more. This time, it's for another essential lesson: religious instruction with Father Ambrose, the castle's ancient chaplain. In medieval Europe, faith wasn't merely a Sunday obligation. It was intricately woven into the very fabric of every single day, every moment, especially for women. Women were often deemed morally weaker than men, and thus in constant need of spiritual guidance, a perpetual shepherd for their souls. Father Ambrose shuffles into the room, his eyes rheumy with age, his gnarled hands trembling slightly as he opens his worn prayer book. He has been your instructor since you were a small child, patiently teaching you the catechism, the inspiring lives of the saints, and the correct prayers for every conceivable occasion. Today, he announces, his voice a reedy whisper that nonetheless carries authority, we will discuss the duties of a wife. Your heart, despite your best efforts, sinks a little. Even the church, it seems, is relentlessly preparing you for your impending new role. A wife, Father Ambrose begins, his voice raspy but firm, must be obedient in all things. As the church submits to Christ, so too must you submit wholly to your husband. You have, of course, heard this countless times before. The Bible, interpreted through the unyielding lens of medieval Christianity, leaves absolutely no ambiguity regarding a woman's place: subordinate, silent, eternally submissive. A wife, he continues, his gaze fixed somewhere beyond you, must be fruitful. Children are God's most sacred blessing, and to refuse them is a mortal sin against his divine will. What he doesn't articulate, yet what hangs, unspoken and heavy in the air between you, is the brutal danger that accompanies this blessing. Childbirth, you know all too well, claims the lives of countless women every single year. Queens and peasants alike succumb to the perils of bringing new life into a challenging world. You've seen it happen. Ladies of the court who disappeared into their confinement chambers, only to never emerge again, their silence a stark reminder of the cost. A wife must be modest, temperate, patient, and kind. Father Ambrose drones on, his voice a steady, monotonous rhythm. She must guard her tongue, her thoughts, and her actions, for she carries her husband's honor as well as her own. In other words, you are burdened with immense responsibility without any accompanying authority. You bear all the blame, yet wield none of the power, the classic, inescapable double bind of medieval womanhood. The lesson continues, relentless, with example after example of virtuous wives drawn from Scripture and the hallowed lives of saints, women who endured unimaginable abuse. And so, you contemplate this future, this blueprint of silent endurance, of hidden suffering, of feelings swallowed whole and words left unsaid. Is this truly what awaits you in the elegant yet unknown courts of France? By the time Father Ambrose finally snaps shut the heavy leather cover of his illuminated manuscript, the last sliver of the sun has already dipped below the castle battlements, painting the high windows in hues of bruised plum and smudged rose. Your long day of lessons is almost at an end, the chill seeping through the stone walls, a subtle reminder of the approaching evening. But there's one crucial, final performance before supper: dancing. For a princess, you see, a clumsy misstep on the polished floor could be far more damaging than a forgotten date in history. You descend towards the great hall where Master Henry, the esteemed dancing master, specifically imported from France, awaits. He's a slender, almost skeletal man, draped in dark, impeccably tailored silks, his sharp eyes holding a perpetual, thinly veiled contempt for what he clearly considers the provincial crudeness of the English court. As you approach, a faint aroma of lavender and something distinctly Parisian wafts from him. Mademoiselle, he greets you, his bow a masterpiece of performative deference, somehow both impeccably proper and laced with a hint of ironic amusement. Tonight, we revisit the asterisk basse danse asterisk, essential for the French court, you understand. Utterly elegant, you move to your starting position, every muscle tensing as you recall his exacting instructions. Back ramrod straight, chin lifted precisely so, arms held just so like porcelain dolls on invisible strings. The air hums with anticipation as three musicians, a lute player, a flautist with a reedy recorder, and a percussionist with a small taut drum, begin a slow, stately melody. The asterisk bass danse asterisk is a processional, a deliberate performance of controlled grace where every single step, every precise turn, every subtle gesture of your hand carries meaning. Forget the free-spirited twirls you might imagine. This is a living diagram, a rigidly choreographed ballet where perfection is paramount, and it is, perhaps surprisingly, much harder than it looks. You tried to keep your mind on the intricate sequence, the weight of your formal gown, already feeling heavy on your shoulders. Yet, just as you settle into the rhythm, a sharp clap echoes through the hall. No, asterisk, non-asterisk. Master Henry's voice slices through the music, his elegant face now a mask of exasperation. The third step is asterisk, mademoiselle, then asterisk, left asterisk. You moved left, then back. All wrong again. You sigh inwardly, a tiny, almost imperceptible release of air. As the musicians pause, the notes lingering, and you begin the entire laborious sequence once more, and then again, and again, until your vision blurs with repetition. Your feet throb in their thin kid slippers, each delicate arch screaming a silent protest. Your spine aches from the unnatural, enforced posture, a persistent, dull throb that vibrates with every breath. A bead of sweat, tiny but persistent, trickles down your spine, making your gown cling uncomfortably to your skin. Yet, you do not complain, you do not falter. You certainly don't ask for a moment's rest or betray a single flicker of frustration. Why? Because princesses simply don't do that, do they? They are sculpted, not born, into figures of unyielding endurance, of quiet persistence, destined to perfect themselves for the preordained roles they are destined to play. After what stretches into an eternity, though perhaps only an hour, by the chiming of the hall clock, Master Henry finally offers a grudging nod. Acceptable, he pronounces, the single word hanging in the air with the distinct implication of barely. He dismisses you with a curt wave, allowing you to finally prepare for the evening meal. You return to your private chamber, a quiet sanctuary where your ladies-in-waiting, Alice and Eleanor, bustle about, helping you shed the restrictive daytime garments and change into your formal evening attire. Alice gently brushes your long hair, now allowed to flow freely, unbound for the evening since you are not yet wed. You catch a glimpse of your reflection in the polished silver mirror resting on your dressing table, not the crisp clarity of glass, which is still a rare, costly luxury, but a dim, softened image, like gazing at yourself through still water. The face that stares back is so terribly young, still bearing the rounded contours of childhood in your cheeks, but your eyes, framed by the falling curtain of your hair, look older, tired beyond your years, imbued with a nascent resignation that hints at the burden you carry. This has been just one day, mind you, in your meticulous education as a medieval princess. One day in an endless procession of identical days, each meticulously crafted to forge you into a valuable asset for your family and your future husband. There is no room, you understand, for a fulfilling life of your own choosing that is a concept yet to be invented. Instead, your every moment is dedicated to becoming a perfect piece on the grand, unforgiving chessboard of medieval politics. Tomorrow will bring more French grammar, more religious instruction, more rigorous training in household management. The day after, the same. And the day after that, until spring finally blooms, and you are sent off to France, much like a prized, well-trained warhorse being delivered to its new owner. Alice carefully fastens a delicate gold circlet around your head, a shining symbol of your rank, yes, but also, you realize, the gilded bars of your cage. It is time for supper, my lady, Alice murmurs softly, her voice barely a whisper against the rustle of your silks. Your father will be waiting. You nod, a practiced, almost imperceptible movement, and rise, carefully arranging your features into the serene, unreadable mask expected of a princess. Any flicker of fear, any echo of resentment, any silent grief for the life you will never know, all must remain meticulously hidden. Perhaps that, above all, is the most profound lesson your education has taught you. True feelings, raw and untamed, are a luxury a medieval princess simply cannot afford. Flanked by your ladies, you walk the familiar path to the great hall for supper. The stone corridors, once quiet in the fading afternoon, now buzz with the lively hum of a castle coming alive in the evening. Servants scurry past, balancing heavy platters and pitchers, the clinking of tankards and the low murmur of voices echoing off the walls. Guards change shifts, their mail jingling softly, and various visitors, minor nobles and merchants, prepare to dine with your family. This entire castle, you reflect, is a small town in itself, hundreds of lives intertwined within its ancient walls, and you, the princess, are undeniably, at its very core, constantly watched, endlessly judged, perpetually discussed. As you step across the threshold into the great hall, a sudden, overwhelming warmth washes over you. Dozens of flickering candles and roaring torches blaze in sconces along the walls, banishing the encroaching darkness and illuminating the vast space for the evening meal. It is the brightest the castle ever gets, the air thick with the mingling aromas of roasting meat, hearty bread, wood smoke from the massive hearth, and the fainter scent of sweat from so many bodies, all underscored by the earthy fragrance of herbs crushed underfoot in the rushes scattered across the floor. A hush falls, brief but distinct, over the closest tables as people discreetly nudge one another. Whispers rising like faint smoke. There she is, the princess, going to France. Such a good match. You pretend not to notice. Of course, your eyes demurely lowered as you glide towards the high table. Your father is already seated, his head bowed in earnest conversation with the most important guest of the evening, a corpulent bishop from a neighboring diocese, his rich purple robes a stark splash of color against the rough-hewn table. Your mother sits to your father's left, a silent, watchful presence, her keen eyes missing nothing. You take your designated place a few seats down, next to the bishop's secretary, a thin, nervous man whose fingers are stained perpetually with ink. This, too, is part of your unending duty, to entertain, to make guests feel welcome, to embody your family's renowned hospitality. Yet, there are strict, unspoken rules governing a princess's conversation, boundaries you dare not cross. I trust your journey was pleasant, sir. You begin offering the expected pleasantry, your voice calm and poised. He nods stiffly, clearly uncomfortable dining so close to royalty, his eyes darting nervously. Yes, Your Highness, he stammers. Most pleasant, indeed. You offer a small, polite smile, and your work. So, you offer another perfectly curated question about the bishop, a safe haven of a topica man's work. After all, always fertile ground for polite inquiry. You admire, of course, but never dare suggest you comprehend its complexities, or, heavens forbid, could undertake such a thing yourself. The secretary, bless his heart, visibly unknots a little, launching into an eager monologue about parchment and quills, about letters meticulously penned and ancient manuscripts painstakingly copied. You listen, as you've been taught since childhood, with that perfected expression of deep engagement, nodding and murmuring at all the right junctures, while your mind, let's be honest, drifts lazily over the grand hall. Around you, the hall hums with the measured ballet of servants, their soft footfalls barely audible as they navigate the cavernous space, bearing platters of food to each table, strictly according to the invisible but absolute lines of rank. The high table, naturally, receives its bounty first, the very finest cuts of roasted meat, still glistening and warm, the freshest, whitest bread, and sauces so rich they catch the candlelight like liquid gold. Food, you see, in this era, is never just about sustenance. It's a vibrant, undeniable declaration of status, a delicious hierarchy laid bare. The first course arrives then, a delicate soup of leeks and sweet almond milk poured into shared wooden bowls. You notice 2 people are meant to share each, a subtle but constant reminder that here true privacy is a luxury simply not afforded. You find yourself paired with the secretary, who seems positively aghast at the notion of potentially clinking spoons with a princess. Please, you murmur, gesturing for him to begin, a quiet command cloaked in courtesy. Always defer to male guests. It's another one of those unbreakable rules woven into the very fabric of your existence. The procession of dishes continues, a veritable feast for the eyes and nose. There's flaky fish bathed in a vibrant saffron sauce, then roasted capons, their skins crackling, followed by a substantial pie bursting with spiced meats. Each dish is profoundly seasoned, not merely for taste, but as a deliberate, opulent display of wealth. Imagine the journey of that peppercorn, that cinnamon bark, the cloves and nutmeg, all costing a small fortune, traversing vast ancient trade routes that stretch across the known world to grace your plate. You eat sparingly, of course. A lady with too keen an appetite is considered unrefined, perhaps even bordering on the sinful. Gluttony, after all, is a cardinal sin, isn't it? Besides, the rich, heavy fare sits a little uneasily in your stomach. Still, a tight knot of apprehension about the unknown path stretching before you. A sudden, expectant hush descends as your father rises, his heavy gold cup glinting as he lifts it in a toast to the bishop. Every eye fixes on him, every conversation silenced, every breath held. His words are formal, a carefully constructed edifice of rhetoric, replete with references to the sacred bonds between church and state, the delicate dance of secular and religious power. Politics, you muse, ever present, even here, at the very heart of the dinner table. The bishop responds with a matching solemnity, though you can't help but notice his gaze occasionally drifts towards the serving girls as they weave between the tables. A silent observation that not all churchmen, alas, uphold their vows of chastity with unwavering diligence. It's an open secret, isn't it? Everyone knows, yet no one ever speaks of it directly. As the opulent meal nears its conclusion, a new sound drifts down from the gallery, nestled high above the hall, the lively, melodic strains of musicians. It's not the formal, stately dance music you've been diligently learning, but something much more spirited, purely for entertainment. Your father catches your eye, a nearly imperceptible nod that only you would understand, a subtle command. This is your cue, your moment to shine. A princess, you see, serves not only as a political pawn, but also as a living testament to her family's culture and refinement, a duty you embody through your accomplishments. You rise gracefully, your heavy gown whispering against the rush-strewn floor, and make your way towards the musicians. A finely carved harp awaits you, its strings gleaming softly in the torchlight. All eyes in the hall follow your every move as you settle onto the stool, carefully arranging your skirts, positioning your fingers just so on the cool, taut strings. The last murmurs of conversation die away, leaving a weighty, expectant silence. This is more than mere music. It's a performance, a deliberate display. You begin a religious piece chosen to showcase not just your technical prowess, but also your impeccable piety. Your fingers, trained through countless hours, move with an elegant precision over the strings, coaxing clear, sweet notes that rise, ethereal and pure, to the ancient timber-bird ceiling high above. Years of practice, endless repetitions, the meticulous corrections from stern tutors, all of it culminates in moments like these, when you are simply an exquisite, living ornament to your father's court. When the last lingering note finally fades, a ripple of appreciative applause breaks the spell. The bishop offers a small, approving nod. Your father's stern face relaxes into a look of quiet satisfaction. Your mother's expression, as ever, reveals nothing. But as you return to your seat, she reaches out, her fingers brushing yours for the briefest, most fleeting moment, the closest thing to public praise you are ever likely to receive from her. The entertainment continues, now with professional minstrels, their voices soaring, and a troupe of nimble acrobats tumbling and twisting in gravity-defying feats. This, you know, is a special treat for the bishop's visit, though you've seen these particular performers and their routine many, many times before. Yet you watch with suitable, practiced appreciation. As the evening begins to wane, your father stands once more, signaling the formal end of the feast. This is the moment, as always, when the stark divisions of court life reassert themselves. The men will now withdraw to discuss serious matters, politics, church affairs, trade, and, inevitably, the grim calculus of warfare. The women, meanwhile, will retreat to their chambers, their day of public display complete. You rise with your mother and the other ladies, offering a low curtsy to your father and the bishop before turning to leave. You catch a glimpse of the secretary's face. He looks almost comically relieved to see you go. Maintaining conversation with a princess, it seems, was a burden he's glad to shed. But your day, my dear, isn't quite over yet, is it? As you reach the familiar comfort of your chambers, Alice, your ever-present lady-in-waiting, greets you with news. A message has come from the steward. There's a matter, apparently, that requires your immediate attention in the kitchens. Now, you ask, surprised, a slight frown creasing your brow. It's highly unusual for such domestic concerns to surface so late in the evening. Alice explains that the bishop's sizable party has brought with them many additional mouths to feed, creating a minor crisis. There's a question about tomorrow's provisions, my lady. It's a sharp reminder of your other role, isn't it? Not just the ornamental princess, but the capable lady of the castle, responsible for the practical, often messy, running of this vast and complex household. Medieval noblewomen were far from mere decorative figures. They were the formidable managers of intricate domestic operations. You follow, Alice, your footsteps echoing softly as you descend the winding, unlit stairs, leaving behind the gilded elegance of the great hall for the purely functional, unglamorous heart of the castle. The air thickens immediately as you approach the kitchen area, growing heavy with heat and the robust, earthy scent of wood smoke and roasting meat. It's a space utterly devoid of the pretensions of the hall, purely functional, filled with massive hearths, still glowing red from the evening's cooking. Long wooden tables, scarred from years of preparation, and overflowing storage areas. As you step inside, the kitchen staff, a mix of men and women, offer quick bows or curtsies, their faces flushed from the heat. The head cook, a stout woman named Agnes, her forearms like a blacksmith's from decades of hauling heavy iron pots, hurries towards you, her expression a mask of worried consternation. "Begging your pardon, my lady," she says, wiping her hands nervously on her apron, the rough fabric stiff with grease. "But with the bishop's men, we're short on saltfish for tomorrow's meal, it being Friday and all." Friday, you recall instantly, is a fast day in the Christian calendar, when meat is forbidden. Fish is the primary alternative, and it seems the castle's stores are, inconveniently, running dangerously low. This, you realize, is precisely the kind of practical problem that falls squarely to the lady of the castle. Not significant enough to trouble the king, certainly, but absolutely essential for the smooth operation of the household, and, perhaps even more critically, for the proper observance of religious custom. How many extra men did they bring, you wonder? You instinctively fall into your practiced rhythm, the query hanging in the air. 12, you consider, referring to the bishop's entourage, plus the accompanying cavalry, their horses now needing a fresh stall and feed, a small logistical nightmare, let's be honest. Your mind, a well-oiled machine trained since childhood for just such contingencies, instantly begins cataloging the castle's stores. You know precisely what resources you possess, how long they'll stretch, and when the next delivery is due. A sharp temps of salt and brine, a faint mustiness of old stone, seems to drift from the north storeroom as you picture its contents. "We'll tap into the salt herring meant for next week," you declare, your voice calm and steady. "And tomorrow we'll dispatch a rider to the abbey for more. For tonight we'll simply add extra bread and generous bowls of vegetable pottage to fill their bellies." Agnes, her face a canvas of relief, nods vigorously. "Yes, my lady, that's truly wise thinking." A tiny surge of satisfaction ripples through you. This small assertion of authority, this quick resolution, feels strangely potent. In the vast, gilded cage of your life as a medieval princess, choices are a rare luxury, often dictated by others. But within the domestic sphere, here, now, you wield a quiet power, a comforting measure of control. As you turn, the faint scent of wood smoke clinging to your gown, your gaze catches on a young scullery maid. She couldn't be more than 9 or 10, her face smudged with hearth ash, hands already raw from endless scrubbings in cold water. You see a reflection of your younger self in her wide, curious eyes, though the paths ahead of you diverge so starkly. Her future holds only the relentless grind of labor. Yours, a gilded cage of royalty, yes, but a cage nonetheless. On a sudden impulse, a rare spark of connection, you offer her a gentle smile. She startles, then a shy, tentative smile flickers across her smudged face before she ducks her head, scrambling back to her ceaseless tasks. It's a fleeting, silent exchange, a fragile human thread woven across the cavernous chasm of medieval social hierarchy. A princess, a kitchen maid, both girls, both bound by the unforgiving expectations of their stations, neither truly masters of their own destiny. You continue your ascent, Alice's quiet footsteps echoing faithfully behind you, leaving the bustling kitchens below. On the main level of the castle, the corridors have begun to settle, the frantic energy of the midday meal slowly dissipating into the softer cadence of early evening. Guards stand sentinel at their posts, their polished armor glinting dully in the dimming light. Servants move with a more measured pace, their tasks winding down as the castle prepares for the long night. But your own duties are far from concluded. You realize the weight of responsibility still pressing gently on your shoulders. No, not yet. Next on your list is a visit to the still room, a place you cherish. This is the secluded domain of Marjorie, the castle's herbalist, an ancient woman, her hands gnarled but agile. Here, she masterfully oversees the preparation and storage of medicinal herbs, the mixing of fragrant cosmetics, and the creation of household necessities like soap and beeswax candles. The air in this room is a delightful symphony of scents: dried lavender, the sweet stickiness of honey, the subtle warmth of beeswax, and the complex, ethereal notes of Marjorie's various distillations. It is a wonderfully female space, a sanctuary where the ancient wisdom of women, their profound knowledge of plants and healing, is not just respected, but truly revered. Marjorie offers a brief, perfunctory curtsy as you step inside, then immediately returns to her meticulous work. The rhythmic asterisk thud dash scrape asterisk of mortar and pestle pulverizing dried herbs. She's one of the few in the castle who treats you with such minimal ceremony. Perhaps it's her age. She was, after all, old enough to have seen your own birth. Or perhaps it's the sheer practicality of her profession, leaving little room for the convoluted dance of courtly formalities. The lavender salve is ready, she states, without a single preamble, her voice a low murmur, and I've prepared more of the rosewater you favor for washing. Thank you, you reply, the gratitude entirely genuine. That rosewater, cool and fragrant, is a small, precious luxury in a life that, despite its immense privilege, offers surprisingly few personal comforts. Marjorie gestures towards a low wooden stool. Sit, she instructs, simply. Let me see your hands. You obey without question, extending your hands for her inspection. Despite all the meticulous care taken to preserve a princess's delicate beauty, your fingertips bear the undeniable marks of countless hours spent on needlework, tiny pricks, faint calluses, imperfections that no amount of salve can entirely erase. Marjorie tuts softly, a sound of gentle disapproval, as she plucks a small earthenware pot from a cluttered shelf, its contents emitting a sweet, soothing fragrance. She begins to massage the rich ointment into your fingers with surprising tenderness. French ladies wear gloves to keep their hands soft, she observes, her gaze steady on yours. You should consider doing the same. This is the kind of advice you truly value. Concrete, practical suggestions for navigating the intricate dance of court life, offered without the crushing weight of moral instruction that so often accompanies the pronouncements of your official tutors. Will you show me how to make this before I go? You ask, nodding towards the fragrant salve, a genuine eagerness in your voice, so I can prepare it in France. Marjorie's lips curve into a rare, pleased smile, touched by your interest. Of course, child. Though they may have different herbs available there, so we'll need to discuss suitable alternatives. This seemingly insignificant exchange, this shared moment of learning, represents another quiet pocket of agency in your tightly controlled existence. Acquiring practical skills, building a store of knowledge that is uniquely yours, these are tiny rebellions against a system that values you primarily as a political pawn, a potential broodmare. Having left the fragrant warmth of the still room behind, one more duty remains before you can finally retire for the night: evening prayers in the chapel. In medieval Europe, religion isn't merely a set of beliefs. It is the very framework that sculpts time itself. Days begin and end with prayer. Weeks are punctuated by Sundays and the joyous clamor of feast days, seasons marked by solemn religious festivals. The chapel is noticeably dimmer now than it was for morning prayers, its vast stone interior illuminated only by a handful of flickering candles that cast long, dancing shadows across the ancient walls. The space feels more intimate, more mysterious in this ethereal half-light, almost whispering secrets. You kneel on the hard, unyielding stone floor, consciously ignoring the discomfort, a lesson you've absorbed since infancy. Physical discomfort, you've been taught, is good for the soul. A small, humbling taste of Christ's suffering, a stark reminder of human frailty. Father Ambrose's voice, a steady, sonorous rumble, leads the prayers, echoing softly in the hushed space. Your father is absent, still closeted away with the bishop, their hushed discussions undoubtedly continuing. But your mother kneels beside you, her lips moving in silent recitation of the familiar words. You wonder, not for the first time, what truly lies behind her impassive, regal exterior. Was she once like you, a young princess, destined for a foreign court, expected to adapt, to bear children, to steadfastly represent her family's strategic interests? Does she ever secretly resent the crushing constraints of her own role? Or has she simply accepted them so completely that the very act of questioning has long since faded from her mind? These are not questions you can ever voice, you know. The chasm between mother and daughter in medieval royal families isn't merely generational, it is institutional. Queens and princesses have rigidly defined official roles to play, and emotional intimacy, you understand, is rarely part of the carefully orchestrated script. Finally, the last official document is signed, the final audience dismissed, and a soft sigh escapes you. You turn towards your private chamber, a welcome sanctuary after the day's endless formalities. There, your patient ladies await, ready to assist as the weighty silks and stiff brocades of your day gown, a veritable cage of status, are slowly unlaced and lifted away. You feel the gentle brush of the linen shift against your skin, a whisper of freedom after the day's constraints. A delicate comb, perhaps bone or ivory, then glides through your long hair, releasing its pins, each stroke a soothing rhythm. Your tresses are then deftly woven into a single practical braid for the night, a crown exchanged for comfort. And as you watch, a warming pan, its metal belly glowing faintly with embers, is slid between the crisp, cool sheets of your bed, chasing away the pervasive chill that clings to stone walls and winter nights. Isn't that just a small, comforting ritual you've come to depend on? Beyond your chamber, the sprawling castle itself begins to hum with its own nightly melody. You can almost feel the giant stone structure settling, creaking slightly, as guards' heavy boots echo on distant battlements, their calls sharp and clear in the cool night air as shifts change. Down below, you imagine the scullery maids carefully banking the kitchen fires, coaxing them to a slow, embers-only slumber that will greet the dawn with warmth. In the vast, empty expanse of the great hall, household knights and squires, their voices hushed, spread out their meager pallets, the rustle of straw a quiet counterpoint. Even the castle hounds, loyal companions by day, curl instinctively near the dying hearths, their dreams undoubtedly filled with tomorrow's scraps. Then comes the definitive thud, a metallic groan, as the massive gates are finally secured, iron bars sliding into place, sealing the world outside and its lurking dangers. This, you know, is the familiar, ancient rhythm of castle life, a precise, predictable dance. It's a pattern etched into the very stones of this place, isn't it? The same duties, the same prayers, the same sequence of events unfolding day after day, year after year. There's a strange, almost hypnotic comfort in this predictability, a sense of belonging to something much larger and older than yourself. Yet, as you slip between those now inviting, slightly warmed sheets, a bittersweet awareness tugs at you. This familiar rhythm, your place within it, is poised for a dramatic shift. Soon, very soon, this life will be but a memory. One of your ladies, Margaret, the quiet one whose sister was sent to Scotland, a distant echo of your own fate, settles near your bed. A single beeswax candle casting soft, dancing shadows on the wall. She's ready to read, a small luxury afforded to a princess, a bridge to ease you into sleep. Her voice is a gentle query. What shall it be tonight, my lady? She holds up a few options, their covers, perhaps, worn smooth from countless readings, a somber collection of saints' lives, a weighty tome of prayers, or, perhaps, a slightly illicit volume of more worldly tales, a fascinating anomaly that somehow found its way into the castle's hallowed library. You eye the last one with a flicker of defiance. The tales, you murmur, the word a soft rebellion against the strictures of your upbringing. Stories of adventure and romance are, let's be honest, often deemed frivolous, even morally perilous for young ladies of your station. But tonight, the desire to escape, to simply imagine a world where the script isn't quite so rigid, is overwhelming. You yearn for narratives where choices are made and destinies aren't entirely predetermined, even if only in the fleeting landscape of your mind. Margaret begins to read, her voice a soothing current in the hushed chamber, each word a gentle push against the encroaching silence. Knights and quests, magical forests shimmering with unseen wonders, and castles shrouded in mystery leap from the parchment, painting vivid pictures behind your eyelids. It's a stark contrast to the rather mundane, if privileged, reality of medieval noble life you experience daily, isn't it? But that, precisely, is its potent allure. The other ladies, already settled on their pallets on the floor, listen intently, their own preparations for sleep momentarily paused. Alice, ever diligent, continues mending by the dying candle.